Meet Brian Hogg. Brian embarked on an extraordinary trip in his Nissan Kicks to Tuktoyaktuk, a community on the remote shores of the Arctic Ocean. For Brian, this journey began after witnessing the summer solstice on a trip to Newfoundland, where his desire to experience it again led him to the Arctic Ocean.
I couldn't believe how emotional the experience was of seeing the sunrise. And then the following year, I was on the west coast for the same day, and I got to see the sun go down at a beach near Tofino on Vancouver Island. I realized then I had to do one more trip and go to Tuktoyaktuk and complete the trilogy of the sun on the solstice. And in Tuktoyaktuk, it doesn't rise and it doesn't set.
But before the adventure could truly begin, Brian faced a crucial decision: the selection of the perfect vehicle to carry him through the vast expanse of wilderness ahead.
I realized wanting to do a trip of 8,000 kilometers one way to Tuktoyaktuk from Borden, PEI, I would need to replace my vehicle. I was looking for something that had a bit higher seating position to be more comfortable, and I also wanted automatic cruise and air conditioning, mainly for comfort, and cruise especially for the long trips on the highway, and also wanted black finish.
When Chandler Leard of Centennial Nissan of Charlottetown presented him with the exact model he had envisioned, Brian found himself equipped for his Arctic adventure. With his Nissan Kicks, Brian embarked on his trip in May of 2022, crossing the Confederation Bridge with his sights set on the north.
One of the things I learned prior to leaving was that the Dempster Highway, the last step, was a gravel road, and it's highly recommended to carry extra spare tires. I included 2 full-size spare tires in my luggage. I also had a cooler and my regular clothing. I had to also leave room for a couple of other people to take their luggage and make sure they had room to sit. They were going to join me in Whitehorse on the trip.
From the indigenous community of Tuktoyaktuk to a group of motorcyclists from Argentina, Brian has so many memories to reflect on.
The people that lived in Tuktoyaktuk had a ceremony the next day, celebration of the solstice. And they had lots of music and dancing, and then they asked us all to join them in lunch. And during the time, I was able to talk to a couple of people from the area, and it seemed very very easy to talk to the people. And another interesting sight at the shore on Tuktoyaktuk was a group of motorcyclists from Argentina, and I was really surprised that they could ride motorcycles that far. I wouldn't have tried that last bit on the gravel road.
Along the infamous Dempster Highway, he traveled rugged terrain and gravel roads, his Nissan Kicks navigating with ease.
The last part of the trip to Tuktoyaktuk was from Dawson City up the Dempster Highway, which is 800 kilometers each way. There's only one motel on the road about halfway up, and it's a gravel road. It had been a rough road to drive, but the Kicks seemed to handle it. But it was, in a way, I was a little sorry for what I had put it through. It was a rough drive, but it all went well.
And when at last he reached the shores of the Arctic Ocean, Brian just had to dip his toes into the frigid waters, and can confirm it's much colder than the Atlantic. Brian completed a 24,000-kilometer road trip in about 10 weeks with his Nissan Kicks. With only regular maintenance like oil changes, 1 air filter replacement, and a few car washes, Brian and his Kicks made it back to his home in Borden in July of 2022.
I was quite glad of my decision to buy a Kicks. It had handled everything that I had put it through. There was no issues. I was quite comfortable driving along.
We want to thank Brian for sharing his story with us. We hope he and his Nissan Kicks have many more adventures ahead of them, and we look forward to watching them unfold.